it's like a throat lozenge, so it like numbs your throat a little bit. And they were on and off, so they would go and they went away. And then when I was in the Virgin Islands for like the first 3 days, I had a really bad sore throat, and it like really hurt to swallow, and like it was pretty bad. So I was like medicating to kind of get that to go away. And then while I was in the Virgin Islands, obviously y'all know I broke my phone, so I couldn't really update you guys too much on that. And then I also got stung by a sea urchin. My brother, we were snorkeling. My brother goes underneath the water and he runs down. He's like, watch me pet this sea urchin. And so for those of you who don't know what a sea urchin is, it's one of those, it's like a ball with these giant long spikes under the water, and they're like super painful if they prick you. So he goes and he's just kind of like tickling the sea urchin, and I'm like, okay, like I want to go do that. So I did, and I think I went like too far in because they have like smaller spikes, and like 2 of the smaller spikes stuck me right in my finger, and my whole finger swole up, and my whole finger was completely red. So maybe that had something to do with it too. But back to the sore throats. We get back to LA. I got back to LA on like July 6th or July 7th. And then got a little bit of a sore throat, but like really didn't think much of it at all. And then all of a sudden, I wake up one morning. Well, I thought I had a bunch of mucus in my throat. So, by the way, beware, this might be a kind of gross conversation just because, like, I'm going to be using the word mucus a lot. I'm going to be using the word throat a lot. Like, I'm talking about surgery. So, yeah, just heads up. But I thought I just had, like, a lot of mucus in my throat from a sore throat, from maybe being a little sick or something. I couldn't really tell. So I went to go get a Mucinex so that I could, dissolve some of that mucus, and so I could breathe and swallow and all that good stuff, basically live. And the Mucinex pill got stuck in my throat, which was kind of alarming. And I remember just being like super stressed out at this point because I was like, I have a Mucinex pill stuck in my throat, and I could feel it, and I could like sometimes massage it, and it would go all the way down to like here, but I could still feel it in my esophagus, which was like super uncomfortable and super annoying. And so I didn't sleep at all that night because it was so uncomfortable, and I was just nervous that it would maybe like choke me or whatever. So at this point I had called my manager, and I was like, hey, I need to go see a doctor for this. And so I got an appointment for the next morning, but it was the next morning that I could go. So kind of slept really on and off. I was waking up like every 45 minutes or so through the night. And then I would drink some water and try to swallow the water to get the pill to go down. But it wouldn't go down. And I was like, all right, dog, like why? What is going on? In the end, it turns out that my throat was completely swollen, and it got trapped in this swelling in my throat. But we'll get to that part of the story soon. So I go and see the doctor in the morning, and he basically says, okay, you have a very, very bad throat infection, and there is an abscess, which is basically like, it's like a big swelling. It's like it's a kind of gross way to put it. It's kind of like a pus pocket, I guess. It's like I don't know. It's like a huge swollen ball in my throat that was covering 90% of my airway. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all, in the morning when I woke up, I tried to drink water and I couldn't swallow the water. It would all come back up, and like I was like choking. It was bad. Anyway, I didn't say anything about it yet because I wanted to be sure, and I didn't want to scare anybody, and I didn't want to make a whole big ordeal about it until I knew exactly what was going on. So I'm at the doctor. Abscess is covering 90% of my airway. It was at the point where if I turned my head this far to the right, it would cut off my entire airway and I couldn't breathe. So I had to keep it straight, but I was already struggling to breathe. Now, I thought this was the Mucinex pill in my throat. So this whole time I'm thinking, okay, doctor's going to give me something that's going to dissolve this pill in my throat. I'm going to be fine. Nothing bad's going to happen. I'll go back to normal. But then I found out that it was a swelling thing. So then they rushed me in an ambulance to the ER. And I was put in intensive care for I ended up being there for 4 or 5 days. But that day that they rushed me to the ER, we got there, and then literally within like an hour or two, I got what's called a CAT scan, so they could scan my whole, scan my throat, see what was going on. And then a couple hours after that, Doc goes, we need to have surgery tonight, ASAP. So that was at about 2 o'clock, and then about 5 o'clock, 5:30, I went into surgery. So somewhere between that time frame, I tweeted saying, hey everybody, this is the dealio, I gotta get surgery, I'll be out. So for those of you who are wondering what kind of surgery I got what's called a tracheometry or something like, tracheometry, some big doctor